Welcome to the first SGSO Network member highlight. My name is Daniel, and I'm the program specialist here at the SGSO Network. And I'm also joined by
Reggie. My name is Reggie, and I work at LifeLab as the National Curriculum and Training Specialist. And I'm always excited to get to know folks in the garden movement who are doing great work.
So in these interviews, we'll be highlighting folks who are experienced in different facets of the school garden movement. And this month specifically, we're highlighting school gardens as they relate to Farm to School in celebration of Farm to School Month. And we're really excited to be joined by Seth Wilmoth, Education Director from SEAG.
Yeah, very, very happy to join you all and appreciate and excited to share a little bit about what we do at SEAG.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And we're just going to start with some basics. So Seth, what is the name of your organization? Where is it located? And what is your role in your organization?
Yeah, so SEAG actually stands for Students for Eco-Education and Agriculture. We are a nonprofit that was founded in 2008, but established as a 501c3 in 2013. So over the course of the last 17 years, our mission has been teaching the community about the farm origins of our food. And so fundamentally, we focus on education programs for students, K through 12 students, getting them out to farms. So we're kind of uniquely positioned to where we provide on-farm field trips. So we work both in the classroom and on farms to try to give students that hands-on experience, develop understanding and also an appreciation for agriculture, where our food comes from, the nutrition that's incorporated with that. And we do that, and I'll go into more detail about our programs and our events and stuff like that, but kind of that's the overarching role. And as education program director, I am fortunate to get a chance to work with all of our youth programming, manage those, work on curriculum and just overall development as we expand. We currently serve Ventura County and northern Santa Barbara County primarily. We started originally in Ventura County, and in the last 2 years have expanded our programs to reach the Santa Maria Valley, San Ynez Valley, and are working towards southern Santa Barbara County as well.
Thank you so much. That's a beautiful part of California. I feel like all of California is really beautiful.
I feel very lucky, yes.
How long have you been in your role?
So currently I joined SEAG in 2021. So we're just approaching 3 years with the organization. Started as program lead, coordinator into this director role. So it feels in many ways like it's all gone very, very quickly, but still in the last 3 years, it's been really cool to be a part of all components and get a chance to teach all of our education programs so far, and then also be more on the development side and get to see us grow, further our impact outside of the county, which has been really exciting. And again, still get the opportunity to in my role now to occasionally be in the classroom still and be out on the farm still to stay close to the education and working with the students, which is originally, what I fell in love with what we do and why we do it.
Now, thanks for sharing a little bit about just your career trajectory and how you started and where you ended up. And it really makes me think about how did you even discover working with students in gardens or farms as a career field?
Yeah, so I've thought a lot about this because, again, coming out of high school or as, trying to plan my career, thinking about what I want to do, this is definitely wasn't in the books necessarily, but I think it's pretty clear for me. I come from my family, my dad grew up on a farm, and so agriculture, gardening, farms have always been just integrated into my life and that appreciation, which I loved. And then my mom was into nutrition and was a nutritionist, and I think that I always wanted to combine my love for agriculture and food and nutrition and also the sciences. I wound up studying biology, and I think by the time I was about to graduate college, I just set my trajectory into wanting to have an impact because of all those things are connected, especially when you do talk about farming and our food. and the actual nutrition of it. And so it felt like it kind of fell into my lap as I came out of college. I worked a little bit in the actual ag industry and organic inputs for a berry company in Ventura County. But then kind of put my feelers out because I wanted to do something, I don't know, if it was more aligned with my, I suppose my goals, but more so my mission and what I cared about. And that was more, I don't know, impactful change and actually getting more of a broader look. As much as I love the science and getting into the farming aspects and agronomy was fantastic, the appeal of getting to work with the community and talk about the importance of agriculture and those sorts of things really drew me in. When I was just putting my feelers out and found SEAG, immediately was like, that sounds like it was written up for me and what I care about and what I want to do. So I reached out, and it was synchronistic. They had a position opening up, and that's kind of how things got started. So I didn't have a clear direction to begin with, but I was trying to tie in, my interest in, like I said, science, my passions, coming from my family and the way that I grew up, and just my vision for how I wanted to make, impact people and the world really in my career. So hopefully that makes sense to kind of how I got here.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who listen to this or who hear this will relate to that story of trying to bring that interconnection of what their passions are, whether they be academically, and their passion for caring for the natural world and caring for young people around them. And so you speak a lot about interconnectedness. And on that same vein, we're curious of how do you bring that interconnectedness to connecting gardens or students in the classroom to larger farm to school initiatives in your area?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to speak to our Farm to Food Lab program, which is our kind of flagship program that's been going and has evolved, I think, and something we're really proud of is where we've gotten it to because of the way we've positioned and work with schools and how we connect not just agriculture and farming and gardening, but also the nutrition components. So I'll kind of explain what we do and then how we work with schools. But the program is for third graders. We offer it completely free to anybody in the county. We give priority to Title I students. And it's a 3-part program where we have our educators go out to school sites for one, give an introduction to the agricultural sciences, get them also some rapport with our education team, because we've learned the more touch points, the more times that we can reach students, the better. And as much as we wish we could spend all, multiple weeks and stuff with the students we reach, we found this is a feasible way. So we come out for an hour introduction, then we invite them out to the farm and providing field trip and bus reimbursements as well to try to help alleviate some of the hurdles, which primarily is busing costs, even if our programs are free. So we get them out to our farm sites. We have one in Ventura County, one in Santa Barbara County, and that's the core of the program, is that 4-hour STEM-based learning. We go through soil science, water science, plant science, and insect science, and we truly try to relate it to, as much as we can, tying in real agriculture. We have the benefit of being here in Ventura County on a working avocado ranch, and so they're amongst and get to see neighboring ranches, what the actual operations on a farm, where our food that's being served in the county is coming from and being sent around the world, but at the same time lean into some hands-on activities that get their hands dirty, for lack of a better term, working with vermicompost and understanding the components of soil, coming from the side of water and how we get our water, how we allocate our resources. We do groundwater extraction to talk about wells and how most of our water here in the county and much of California is coming from the ground. And then insect and plant science, where we get to see actual relationships between pests and beneficials and get them planting their own seedlings that they take home. And so that sets the scene and what we've poured so much into. But speaking to the interconnectedness, the last component, because we've up to this point really followed the food supply chain and tried to identify kind of where we start, the processes, the sciences behind those, and how we get it to our table and our plates. And then following their field trip in the weeks leading after, or sometimes day, we come back to the classroom, and that's where we talk about nutrition. So we transition to we've now reached sort of the final destination to our bodies. And so what it means to, eat locally, and also just a holistic look at nutrition in general, because there's always more need for nutrition education for these students. So we tie in our farm theme and our supply chain theme, but just dive into things like macro and micronutrients, how they relate to colors in fruits and vegetables and whole foods that we eat. And again, always keeping that connection to where they're coming from, relating it to the farm that they were on or farms that are around the county. And so again, we are uniquely positioned to where we don't educate out of a garden, but we try to reach schools and to Ventura County's credit and Santa Barbara County's credit, have amazing farm to school networks and have done a really great job at getting as many gardens in schools so students have that opportunities. We feel like we fill the gap and communicate with organizations like Ventura County Farm to School to find and reach schools that don't have as many of those opportunities. But also the students that do and are working in gardens get them additional experience outside of even their school, where they get to see some of this gardening and this plant science that they're doing right there at their school, see it on a large scale and see how we're feeding not just our school maybe, but our community and our state and even beyond that. So yeah, it's a really unique, I feel privileged that we've gotten the support from the county and organizations like that to help us identify some of the needs that schools that don't have certain opportunities like that can benefit from, and then just serve them, as best as possible. So hopefully that covers some of that.
Yeah, I think that you're providing a really well-balanced take on there are young people out there who have school gardens, and we certainly support them in our area to show them the agricultural scale on a macro scale, where in their school garden they might be seeing it on a micro scale, but also providing opportunities to young people who may not have school gardens, and this is their introduction to the process of agriculture. So it's really great to hear that balance, and again, to hear just how you bring this level of interconnectedness to your work.
Yeah, and I feel like you just took the words out of my mouth, because I was gonna say, I love how much you talk about how interconnected it is, and like when you were sharing, you share that in so many different levels, and it resonates so much with how you even came into this work, connecting your passion for nutrition, for fresh food, for healthy food, and I really feel like you're really delivering that same thing to other students. So in thinking about where we came from, right, of this passion for fresh, healthy food and connecting children. And as we have other folks that are probably looking to forge their path also in this movement, I wanted to ask you, as the school garden movement is growing, what advice would you give to those new to the school garden movement in navigating the space?
Yeah, I would say, there's a lot of different elements to it. One is going to sound sort of cliche, but I think don't be afraid to start small. I think we have grand junctures of maybe what you need, a school garden program or just teaching about food and plants and this whole network might look like, but there's so many ways that you can do that in the classroom if you don't have the space, and there's amazing resources for that. And it's incredible how much students can benefit from just a little bit of exposure to some of the sciences and just getting their hands on soil or hands on plants and being outside, or even doing that stuff in the classroom is better than just hearing it and talking about it, which is what I know a lot of people are trying to reach. So I would just say don't be afraid to start small, for one, especially as you're working with limited capacity. And then the next thing beyond that is definitely reach out to this has got to be the most supportive community between teachers, administrators, and organizations that both of you work for and represent. There's just all the help and support that you could possibly find in your niche of what you're trying to accomplish, whether that's at a school garden or trying to create an organization like us that's sort of tangential and doing similar work. Is again, don't be afraid to reach out. That's what I hope that I can provide in our position and insight into how we got to where we are and where we're continuing to go. And then more specifically to kind of what we do, I would say work with local farms and I in the same note, they're busy, they're doing a lot, but I don't think there's a farmer that I've met that doesn't resonate with what we're trying to accomplish by the education that we're doing and doesn't want to support in some form. Not all farmers can host students like our incredible farm partners can, but many can help in other ways, whether that's coming out to schools, providing donations, or just little forms of education. I think is leaning on our agricultural community, whether that's farms or other parts of the industry, to support what we're doing in the classroom, because that is made what we do possible. I mean, absolutely. We do events specifically with farms, which is another branch I'd love to talk about, but really just if you're not beyond some of the educational support resources and grants to get this stuff going, I would, again, get to know farmers in your community, because there's a lot that I've learned. So much is like there's a surface level, and there's just so much more out there, and people doing more than you'd ever expect, and willing to give and support more than I would ever expect. We have a wonderful advisory committee, and that's just one example of getting insight from professionals who have done it on the education side and also on the farm side. So hopefully that was succinct, but again, I think don't be afraid to start small. Of course, utilize resources in the community. And if you're interested in doing and working on the agricultural side, because it's one and the same really, look out in your community, identify farms, or if you're in a place that isn't rich in farmland per se, reach out to extended counties and just see if there's crossover, because people are willing to go a long way, I think, is what I've learned.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Seth. I think what you're saying is really true, like starting small and reaching out and building relationship with the folks around you. I'd love to keep chatting with you, and we're, almost at the end of our interview here, but I'm curious if you have anything else you want people out there to know about your work.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to go, into so much detail. I'm very passionate, and so it's easy to just want to talk about everything that we do and that similar organizations do. But the one thing I would leave with is another part of our mission, and I hope to see this continue to spread, is we care a lot about advocating and bolstering the farm worker community too. And that's one thing that we get out, and I think is really beneficial for the students, is actually getting to see working farms. And when we have the opportunity to talk about the importance of our farm workers and how they contribute to the food supply chain and just our entire life, that's such an important thing to sprinkle into, whether you're at the garden and you're just talking about plants and food. That's something that shouldn't be overlooked, because we serve, we're an agricultural rich community, but we serve a lot of students of farm workers, and there's frankly a negative connotation for many, and we really want to eliminate that and try to make them continue to feel proud for what their family has done, and inspire them to become part of that, get introduced, and be excited to have a career one day in agriculture, in food. And there's so many different career pathways. That's what our kind of middle and high school programs focus on, is more of those career pathways beyond just what you traditionally might associate with a farmer, which is amazing and important, but there's so much out there. So all that to say, I think is just something we really strive to do, is that that is teaching students about the appreciation for that community, our agricultural community, and those that are in it. And that can be done, just by doing the work, working with, like we were talking about this whole time, working in gardens and plants and understanding what it takes and how important that role is. Or when you have the opportunities to get students out to farms, or at least be more aware of what's around them, whether their city, their town, their state, that's super important too, because that's our next generation. I mean, that's why we do it, is we want to inspire these kids, whether third grade or middle or high school or college. There's still inspiration to be had on the work that's being done, and what they could, and the piece that they could have into that when they get older and they become part of our workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. Really speaking to the dignity involved with farm working. And so thank you again. Thank you so much for your thoughts. And as we close out today, I am curious, where can the people find you on social media if they want to follow your work?
Yeah, so all of our social media will be just SEAG, so SEEAG. You'll be able to find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. And then we also have 2 annual farm days if you're on the Central Coast in Santa Barbara and Ventura County. So Ventura County Farm Day and Santa Barbara County Farm Day, both our websites and our social media pages, those are also out there too. A great way that we offer another free opportunity, this time for the community, to go out and tour farms in their community, get a chance, like we were talking about, get to know the people behind our food.
Wow, that's great to know that for folks who live in California, that they can just head on down to the Central Coast and go give a visit to SEAG on one of these annual farm days. So thank you again, Seth. And we just want to give a thanks to everyone out there who listened or watched this. And we'll see you all at the next SGSO member highlight.
Yeah, before we wrap up, all of these links will be added to some of our show notes on the SGSO Network website. This will be posted there as well on our newsletter as well as the website. So be on the lookout for all these dates and socials on there. With that, thank you for watching.